Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about center-state relations related to federalism and also a proposed convention. It deals with Indian polity, that way it is an important editorial. And today you're not going to work on any practice questions based on exam topics. It's only the editorial. And there are about 20 plus words. Some of these words are very important and also new. Let us have a quick look at these words. Convention. Convention, a familiar word. What does it mean? Convention means a large formal meeting or assembly. In this context, a large formal meeting of the chief ministers of different states. Convention. Drown has two different meanings. One meaning, if someone enters a water body without knowing how to swim, he or she gets drowned, means go to the to go to the bottom. But another meaning of the word drown, submerge or flood an area. If an area is submerged or flooded, then also we say the area has been drowned. Polemic, a new word. You have to remember this. A strong verbal or written attack on someone or something. We have got this word for the first time. Polemic, a strong verbal or written attack on someone or something. Nascent, we got yesterday, especially of a process or organization, yesterday's context, industry, just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. Berating, we have got for the first time an important word. It means what? Scold or criticized angrily. In this context, it is not scold, it is criticized angrily. Strained relations, usually we say, and don't strain something. Another expression. What does it mean? Showing signs of nervous tension or tiredness. Partisan, another word that goes with polity, a strong supporter of a party, cause, or person. Overbearing goes with individuals, those who are in power. Unpleasantly overpowering. If someone tries to show a lot of authority, then we say overbearing. Fraying, to damage or diminish by continued friction. It has many meanings, but in this context, this is what it means to damage or diminish by continued friction. Arbiter, we have got many a time. A person with power to decide a dispute. There's a person who has a power to settle or decide a dispute or a bone of contention. We use the word arbiter. Federalism. This editorial touches federalism. There are two terms you have to know. Excuse me. One is a unitary form of government where the center is very powerful. The other one, federal form of government where the states are very powerful. India is a combination of the two. And for that, there is a term called quasi federal. Quasi federal means India's quasi means seem like but not in reality. It is not federal in the structure but looks like that. Quasi federal. Partially unitary, partially federal. Accommodative. Willing to fit in with someone's wishes or needs. You accommodate, you take in, you accept. Ethnic, we have got many a time, pertaining to a characteristic of people, especially a group, sharing a common and distinctive culture, religion, language. We use the term ethnic groups, ethnic fashion. More words are there. Coalition government. This also goes with polity. The joining together of different political parties or groups for a particular purpose. Upheaval usually goes with a protest, a violent or sudden change or disruption to something. Sudden forward movement, upward movement, we also use the word upheaval. Ally, a state formally cooperating with another for a military or other purpose. This word is used at the time of war. Encroachment, we have got many a time. Intrusion on a person's territory, rights, etc. You try to occupy someone's property, then it is known as encroachment. Prudent, acting with or showing care and thought for the future. One word you can say wise, prudent person, wise person. Tacit, we have got for the first time an important word, understood or implied without being stated. Something that is implied, we use a word tacit. Acquiescence, the reluctant acceptance of something without protest. We accept something reluctantly and without protesting, then we use the word acquiescence. Articulate, an important word, having or showing the ability to speak fluently and coherently. Counterproductive, productive, positive, counterproductive, negative. Having the opposite of the desired effect. You can also think of the word boomerang. You do something expecting a positive result, you want a positive result, but you get a negative result, then you say it has been counterproductive. You can also say it has boomeranged. Now let us go to the editorial. Please excuse me. Center of the debate, you cannot make out based on these words, but it talks about the relations between the center and the state. It's all about the convention, proposed convention. If you read the next sentence, you get the idea what it is about. A convention of CMs should not be drowned in the polemic of electoral politics. There are three words. A convention. What is the meaning of the word convention? A large formal meeting or assembly. In this context, obviously, the chief ministers of different states try to meet, then it is a convention. A convention of CMs should not be drowned. We use a helping verb should to advise or suggest someone, one meaning. Another meaning, to talk about a possibility where the chances are very less. Should not be drowned, should not be flooded in this context. Drown means what? Submerge or flood. Should not be drowned in the polemic of electoral politics. There is one important word we have got for the first time, polemic. What does it mean? Strong verbal or written attack on someone or something. Strong verbal attack or a written attack on someone or something. In this context, the center, obviously. A convention of CM should not be drowned in the polemic of electoral politics. What is the objective of this convention? What is the purpose? To discuss the concerns of the different states and the relations between the center and the states. But in this convention, if they resort to polemic of electoral politics, polemic, they try to attack the center based on the elections, based on electoral politics, then definitely it cannot be justified. The purpose will be defeated. That is the main idea of this editorial. The chief ministers of West Bengal and Tamil Nadu, Mamata Banerjee and MK Stalin, respectively, have jointly proposed a convention of non-BJP chief ministers. Now it comes to the reason behind writing this editorial, a particular convention of chief ministers. The chief ministers of West Bengal and Tamil Nadu, Mamata Banerjee and MK Stalin, respectively, have jointly proposed a convention of non-BJP chief ministers. The initiative is still nascent and there is no clear agenda or a definite date, but the political context is amply clear. So, what does it mean? The initiative is still nascent, means a new initiative, initial stage, and there is no clear picture. There is no clear agenda or a definite date, but the political context is amply clear. Neither the agenda nor the date. There is no agenda, there is no date, but the political context is amply clear. There is one word over here, amply, ample. Ample means what? A lot, plenty. What is that? Obvious or clear, amply clear. Relations between the center and the states ruled by opposition parties are strained. This has been there for quite some time. Since you can say usually center one party and states another party, obviously you can't expect a perfect rapport between the center and the states. Usually the relations are strained. So this talks about relations between the center and the states ruled by opposition parties. Same party, then there is no problem. But ruled by opposition parties are strained due to various factors. And usually the center state relations are strained because of various factors like related to GST, the partisan behavior of central agencies. There is one important word here, partisan. Strain means what? Showing signs of nervous tension or tiredness, not perfect in this context. Strained relations means what? Not perfect relations, and there is no rapport between two parties. And partisan behavior, this is an important word, it goes with polity. It means what? A strong supporter of a party, cause, or person. In this context, it says a central agency supporting the government at the center, the party at the center. So the various factors for the strained relations, GST, the partisan behavior of central agencies, the center's move to give itself absolute powers in the transfer of IAS, IPS, and IFS officers, and the overbearing attitude of several governors. Four factors have been listed out. One is GST. The second one, the partisan behavior, in a way being in favor, showing favor towards the center or the government, central agencies, the partisan behavior of central agencies. And the third one, the center's move to give itself absolute powers. There's a new one, absolute powers to the center when it comes to the transfer of IAS, IPS, and IFS officers. And the fourth dimension, the overbearing attitude of several governors. Another word here, overbearing. Overbearing means what? Unpleasantly overpowering. Someone shows his or her authority to a great extent, then we use the word overbearing. The relations among states are also fraying in many instances, even as the center's moral authority to be a neutral arbiter is at a low. It talks about another dimension here. What is the other dimension? Excuse me. One problem, the relations between the center and the states. Another dimension, another problem, the relations among states. We have so many states. The relations among states are also fraying, an important word, to damage or diminish by continued friction. We all know there are so many states in the south, in the northeast, there are problems. Fraying in many instances means the relations are not perfect. Again, the relations are strained. In many instances, even as a center's moral authority, to be a neutral arbiter is at a low. Whenever there is a problem between two states, the center has the moral authority to be a neutral arbiter, but it is at a low, the editorial says. And there's one more word here, arbiter, we have got once or twice. A person with power to decide a dispute, arbiter. Arbiter is different, arbitrary is different. Arbitrary means without any reasoning or without any rationality. Excuse me. The tendency to mobilize political support in one state by berating other states, though not new, seems to have acquired an additional edge, with the BJP drawing its support from the northern and western regions, while the opposition holds on to the southern region in general. It talks about the parties and where they are powerful. When it comes to BJP, the western and the northern regions very powerful. When it comes to the opposition parties, holds on to the southern region in general. The south not dominated by the BJP. It talks about that. And it also says the tendency to mobilize political support in one state by berating other states. What is the meaning of berating? Scold or criticize angrily. In this context, we cannot say scold, criticize angrily, just to get the support. A communal angle is occasionally added. Usually, they try to get the support from a particular state by berating other states. That is one strategy. Another dimension, a communal angle is occasionally added. A communal angle is occasionally added, means what? And to substantiate that, the editorial provides one example. As Uttar Pradesh CM Yogi Adityanath did last week in branding West Bengal, Kerala, or Kashmir, apparently for the high levels of political power enjoyed by Muslims there. So this has a communal dimension. There is one word here, apparently, we have got many a time. What does it mean? Obviously, something that goes without saying. In Parliament recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Congress leader Rahul Gandhi had a heated debate. This is an important phrase, heated debate on the scope and limits of Indian federalism. This has been for quite some time. Federalism, Indian federalism, which is quasi federal, not federal in the real sense, not unitary in the real sense. It is looks like federal, but it is not federal. Looks like unitary, it is not unitary. So we use one term, quasi federal, partially federal. The autonomy of the states in their relations with the center depended less on any ideological distinction between parties than on the nature of power sharing among them. So it talks about the relations between the center and the states, on what they depend. The autonomy of the states, autonomy means independence, in their relations with the center depended less on ideological distinction between parties than on the nature of power sharing among them. When the government at the center is dependent on regional parties for survival, it is more accommodative towards aspirations of constituent groups, linguistic, religious, ethnic, or political. There are a few words: accommodative, willing to fit in with someone's wishes or needs, accommodative in nature. Ethnic, we have got many a time, a particular group with a distinct culture, religion, language. Then we use the word ethnic groups. Another term you have to recollect: ethnic fashion, traditional fashion. This talks about how the center behaves when it wants the support of a particular state. When the government at the center is dependent on regional parties for survival, if the government at the center, a particular party, depends on the state for survival, what does it do? It is more accommodative. That means it considers the wishes of the states or the parties at the state level towards the aspirations of constituent groups, usually the groups in that particular state, could be linguistic, based on language; religious, based on religion; ethnic, based on traditions; or political, based on political ideology. The 2014 victory of the BJP brought an end to the coalition era that had lasted for 25 years. 2014, BJP came to power, and this victory has brought to an end a particular trend. The 2014 victory of the BJP brought an end to coalition. Before that, a lot of parties, they would join hands, and we would see coalition governments. What is the meaning of the word coalition? The joining together of different political parties or groups for a particular purpose to form the government that had lasted for 25 years. The current upheaval, another important word, upheaval, a violent or sudden change or disruption to something. The current upheaval among parties in power in states is related to larger questions debated in parliament, but there are individual factors too. The scope is very broad, but when it comes to the debate, certain individual factors are also there. The TRS is anxious. Now it talks about what are those individual factors. The TRS is anxious about the BJP's push to expand in Telangana. The DMK is anxious to protect its social justice politics from the center's unilateralism. The TMC, though it emerged victorious over the BJP in last year's assembly election in West Bengal, still has scores to settle. The Shiv Sena in Maharashtra is determined to protect its turf, means its ground, from the former allies' persistent encroachment attempts. That is, encroachment attempts by the BJP party, persistent, existing for a long time. You have got that word many a time. So this talks about the concerns of the states, and also related to what individually each state has a different reason. On the other hand, some states, they are not they may not join this particular convention. For individual factors of power politics, the reason individual factors. For individual factors of power politics, some CMs and state parties could be less enthusiastic than the TMC, DMK, TRS, and Sena in confronting the BJP and the center. And some parties, obviously, what the parties are: Andhra Pradesh CM and YSRCP leader Jagan Mohan Reddy and Odisha CM and BJD chief Naveen Patnaik might consider it prudent. Prudent means they might consider it wise to protect their respective turfs, means to be in power, in tacit acquiescence with the BJP. There are two important words over here. One is tacit, means what? Understood or implied, not quite obvious, but it is implied. Acquiescence, another important word we have got for the first time. The reluctant acceptance of something without protest. Accepting the BJP party without protest, tacit, implied, that is implied, not direct, tacit acquiescence with the BJP. Now, how does the editorial end? A convention of the CMs can articulate the concerns of the states. This convention of chief ministers has a potential, can articulate an important word, having or showing the ability to speak fluently and coherently the concerns of states, but it should guard against turning into an occasion for counterproductive polemic. Counterproductive. You expect something positive, but negative happens, may happen, then we say counterproductive. Polemic, a new word you have got for the first time, rooted in electoral calculations. So, this convention should focus on the concerns of the states. It should not resort to something like polemic or attacking the BJP, keeping the elections in mind. That's what the editorial says. Related to polity, sometimes you may get a passage based on center state relations. That way, it is important. What are the questions you can think of based on this editorial? What is this editorial about? What should not be drowned in the polemic of electoral politics? What is still nascent in the context of the editorial? Always focus on the key words. What seems to have acquired an additional edge? Acquired an additional edge. What brought an end to the coalition era that had lasted for 25 years? Easy to answer. You should be able to answer all these questions effortlessly. Now let us go to the editorial words vocabulary. Try to match the words and the meanings, the words from today's editorial. What is the meaning of convention? Try to write the part of speech and also the meaning. Convention, part of speech, noun. What does it mean? 1C, a large formal meeting. That's right. Drown has two different meanings. One, when someone enters a particular water body, he or she doesn't know how to swim. Obviously, he goes down. Then we use the word death by drowning. And drown could be a noun, could be a verb. What does it mean? Drown in this context, submerge or flood an area. An area is flooded or submerged, then we use the word drown. And when it comes to floods, you should also think of inundation, another important word. Answer is F. Polemic, this is an important word we have got for the first time, and it is adjective. Strong verbal attack, it could also be a noun. Strong verbal attack. Berating, scold or criticize, but here we don't use the word scold. Criticize angrily. Berate, verb, and berating, adjective, obviously. Criticize angrily. Answer is G. Partisan politics, usually we say that means it is an adjective. Support a particular party, strong supporter of a particular party. Answer is H. Yes. Overbearing behavior means what? Trying to show someone's authority and trying to be overpowering in an unpleasant way, unpleasantly overpowering. Adjective. Arbiter, part of speech, noun. A person with power to settle a dispute. Mediator in a way, but mediator is a common term. Arbiter it goes with effective English. Ethnic tribe, ethnic group, ethnic fashion, ethnic, that is an adjective, obviously. What does it mean? Pertaining to a particular group or region, you can say Here, J is the answer. Prudent means wise, obviously. Prudent person. That means adjective. Wise, B. Tacit, an important word we have got for the first time. Tacit, implied. So it could be adjective, implied. Have you got all the 10 correct? That's all for today. No practice questions based on exam topics, only the editorial analysis. Thanks for being with me. Have a nice day. Do remember to subscribe and share. Join the Telegram group. All that you have to do after the session, go to the description of the video and click on the link. I'll provide the PDF and try to work on, try to write the answers. That will help in the long run.